What if all of Antarctica's ice suddenly melted? Imagine entire cities disappearing underwater, billions of people displaced, and Earth's climate spiraling into chaos. Could humanity survive such an unimaginable catastrophe, or would it spell the end of civilization as we know it? Let's explore this chilling scenario and uncover the terrifying consequences of an ice-free Antarctica. Antarctica is a vast frozen desert covering roughly 14 million square kilometers. It's home to 70% of the world's fresh water and about 90% of its ice. The continent plays a critical role in regulating Earth's climate and sea levels. If this colossal ice sheet were to melt completely, the consequences would be devastating, not just for Antarctica, but for every living thing on the planet. The most immediate and dramatic effect would be the rise in global sea levels. Antarctica's ice holds enough water to raise sea levels by approximately 58 meters, or 190 feet. This isn't just a slight adjustment to coastal boundaries. It would mean the complete submersion of many of the world's largest cities and most densely populated regions. Coastal megacities like New York, Shanghai, Mumbai, and London would be swallowed by the sea. Entire nations, such as the Maldives and Kiribati, would disappear entirely. In fact, vast areas of land that are currently home to billions of people would be permanently underwater. To put this into perspective, a sea level rise of 58 meters would inundate major agricultural regions like the Nile Delta, the Mekong Delta, and the Mississippi Delta. These areas are vital for global food production, and their loss would trigger a catastrophic collapse in food supplies. Hunger and famine on an unprecedented scale would follow, plunging the world into a desperate fight for survival. But rising seas are only part of the story. The sudden melting of Antarctica would unleash a cascade of climate disruptions. The polar ice cap acts as a giant mirror, reflecting sunlight back into space and helping to keep the planet cool. Without it, Earth's albedo, or reflectivity, would plummet. This would lead to a rapid acceleration of global warming as more solar energy is absorbed by the planet's surface. The influx of fresh water from Antarctica into the oceans would also disrupt critical oceanic systems like the thermohaline circulation. This global conveyor belt of ocean currents helps regulate the planet's climate by transporting heat from the tropics to the poles. If these currents were disrupted, it could lead to severe climate imbalances. Europe could experience a new ice age, while other parts of the world could face extreme droughts, intense heat waves, and unpredictable weather patterns. Ecosystems around the world would collapse under the strain of these changes. Marine life, already struggling with warming oceans and acidification, would face additional challenges as salinity levels drop and habitats are destroyed. Species that depend on cold, icy environments, such as penguins and seals, would be driven to extinction. Coral reefs, which provide shelter for a quarter of all marine species, would face annihilation as sea temperatures rise and ocean chemistry is altered. The human cost of such a scenario would be staggering. Mass migrations would become the norm as coastal populations are forced to flee inland. Entire nations would cease to exist, and millions of people would become climate refugees. This level of displacement would create enormous social and political strain, leading to conflicts over resources like food, water, and habitable land. Governments would struggle to manage the economic and humanitarian crises, and global stability would be at risk. Economically, the impact would be catastrophic. Coastal infrastructure, including ports, airports, and power plants, would be destroyed. Insurance industries would collapse under the weight of claims, and global trade networks would be severely disrupted. Entire industries, from tourism to agriculture, would face ruin. The cost of rebuilding and adapting to these changes would be astronomical, placing an enormous burden on already struggling economies. While the complete melting of Antarctica is a hypothetical scenario, it serves as a stark reminder of the power of nature and the consequences of unchecked climate change. Scientists estimate that under current warming trends, it would take thousands of years for all of Antarctica's ice to melt. However, certain parts of the ice sheet, like the West Antarctic ice sheet, are already showing signs of instability. This region is particularly vulnerable because much of it lies below sea level, where warm ocean currents can erode the ice from underneath. The collapse of just the West Antarctic ice sheet would raise sea levels by about 3.3 meters, or 11 feet. Change that would still have devastating consequences for coastal regions around the world. The loss of ice in Antarctica is already contributing to sea level rise, and as global temperatures continue to climb, the rate of ice loss is expected to accelerate. There is hope, though. By reducing greenhouse gas emissions, transitioning to renewable energy sources, and protecting natural carbon sinks like forests and wetlands, we can slow the pace of climate change and prevent the worst-case scenarios. International efforts like the Paris Agreement aim to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius, with the goal of avoiding tipping points that could lead to irreversible changes in the climate system. Advances in technology, such as carbon capture and storage, also offer promising solutions. By removing CO2 from the atmosphere and storing it safely, we can help stabilize the climate. However, these solutions require significant investment and global cooperation. Time is of the essence, and the actions we take today will determine the future of our planet. The melting of all of Antarctica's ice is an extreme and unlikely scenario, but it highlights the urgent need to address climate change. The warning signs are already here. Glaciers are retreating, sea levels are rising, and extreme weather events are becoming more frequent. The choices we make now will shape the world for generations to come. So, what can we do as individuals? Reducing your carbon footprint by using energy-efficient appliances, supporting renewable energy, and advocating for sustainable policies are small but impactful steps. Spreading awareness about climate change and encouraging others to take action can amplify our collective efforts. The fate of Antarctica and the planet is in our hands. The question is, will we rise to the challenge and protect this fragile world, or will we allow it to slip away under the rising tides? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more thought-provoking content, and stay tuned as we explore the mysteries and challenges facing our world and beyond. The possibility of Antarctica's ice melting entirely may seem far-fetched, but even a partial melt has the potential to wreak havoc. Scientists are particularly concerned about tipping points, thresholds in the climate system where small changes can lead to rapid, irreversible effects. Once these tipping points are crossed, efforts to reverse the damage become nearly impossible. One of these tipping points lies in the Antarctic ice shelves. These floating extensions of the ice sheet act like a dam, holding back the glaciers on land. If the ice shelves collapse, it would allow the glaciers to flow into the ocean at an accelerated pace. This process, known as marine ice sheet instability, could lead to significant sea level rise in just a few centuries. Even now, we're witnessing alarming changes in Antarctica. The Thwaites Glacier, often called the Doomsday Glacier, is melting at an unprecedented rate. This massive glacier alone contains enough ice to raise global sea levels by more than 60 centimeters, or 2 feet. If it collapses completely, it could destabilize the entire West Antarctic ice sheet, triggering a chain reaction of ice loss. The situation in East Antarctica is more stable, but not immune to change. Recent studies suggest that warm ocean currents are beginning to reach the base of some of East Antarctica's glaciers, raising concerns about their long-term stability. This region contains the majority of Antarctica's ice, so even small changes here could have a massive impact on sea levels. The question isn't just about how much ice will melt, but also how fast. If global warming continues unchecked, scientists predict that sea levels could rise by up to 1 meter by the year 2100. While this may seem modest compared to the 58 meters from a total Antarctic meltdown, even this smaller rise would be disastrous. Low-lying areas like Bangladesh, parts of Florida, and coastal cities around the world would face increased flooding and storm surges, making them uninhabitable. Beyond the physical changes to the planet, the psychological and cultural impacts of losing Antarctica would be profound. Antarctica is a symbol of nature's raw power and resilience, a frozen wilderness that has remained untouched by human activity for millions of years. Its loss would represent a failure to protect one of Earth's last great frontiers and serve as a stark reminder of humanity's impact on the planet. However, it's important to emphasize that we are not powerless. The future of Antarctica, and the planet as a whole, depends on our ability to take meaningful action. Governments must enforce stricter environmental policies, industries must innovate to reduce emissions, and individuals must adopt more sustainable lifestyles. The transition to a carbon-neutral future will be challenging, but it's a necessary step to ensure the survival of our planet. One of the most promising avenues for combating climate change is the development of renewable energy technologies. Solar, wind, and geothermal power are becoming more efficient and affordable, offering a viable alternative to fossil fuels. By investing in these technologies and reducing our reliance on coal, oil, and natural gas, we can significantly lower greenhouse gas emissions and slow the pace of global warming. Another critical aspect of climate action is the protection and restoration of natural ecosystems. Forests, wetlands, and oceans act as carbon sinks, absorbing CO2 from the atmosphere. Preserving these ecosystems and planting more trees can help offset emissions and stabilize the climate. Initiatives like reforestation projects and marine conservation efforts are already making a difference, but they need to be scaled up to have a global impact. International cooperation is also essential. Climate change is a global problem that requires a unified response. Treaties like the Paris Agreement are a step in the right direction, but countries must follow through on their commitments and set more ambitious targets. Wealthier nations, in particular, have a responsibility to support developing countries in their transition to sustainable energy and climate resilience. Education and awareness play a crucial role in driving change. By understanding the science behind climate change and its potential consequences, people are more likely to take action and demand accountability from leaders. Public support for climate policies can create the political will needed to implement effective solutions. In the end, the scenario of all of Antarctica's ice melting is a wake-up call, a reminder of what's at stake if we fail to address climate change. While the total meltdown of Antarctica may be a distant possibility, the changes we are seeing today are a clear warning sign. The time to act is now, before we cross the point of no return. As we wrap up this exploration of a world without Antarctica's ice, remember that the future is not set in stone. It's shaped by the choices we make today. Will we continue down a path of destruction, or will we rise to the challenge and build a sustainable future for generations to come? The choice is ours, and the clock is ticking. If you found this topic eye-opening, share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think humanity's greatest challenge will be in preventing such a catastrophe? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into the mysteries of our planet and beyond. Thank you for watching, and let's continue to explore the possibilities of our universe together.